Jimmy. Jimmy. Jim James, son!
Welcome back to another episode of the Jimmy Jim Jims channel. I am your host, Jimmy Jim Jims, and today we are here to pick up that wretched old pile, simply wretched. It came to me for 500 bucks, and I think it has something wrong with the transmission and a number of other things. So let's see if we can help someone or have someone help us get it home, and then we can check out what's wrong with it and everything about it. So let's cut to the next scene, shall we? So yeah, we're definitely having some problems here with the shifting, trying to drive this thing home. It cannot figure out between third and fourth gear. It just cannot figure it out, and I'm not so sure that we are going to make it home. So I guess I will catch you guys, possibly, maybe, let's hope, at home. Well, surprisingly, I did make it home in the cheapest car on Craigslist. It was between this and a 95 Buick LeSabre with 200,000 miles, so this was the clear winner. It came to me for $500 because it has a transmission shifting issue in which it can't decide between third and fourth gear, and it will just wildly shift constantly between those two gears. Power steering does not work at all because of an unplugged hose and all the fluid's missing, and it stalls occasionally. So those are some things we are going to have to take care of. It is a 2000 Ford Contour with the V6 Sport option, which some of you may know as the Mercury Mystique, which my friends all the way across the pond will know as the Ford Mondeo. They've always been kind of questionable cars, but this one only has 94,000 miles, or again, for those of you across the pond, 151,000 kilometers. It does maintain current registration somehow, despite all of its numerous issues. It has all right tires with the alloys missing every single one of the center caps, and the paint is somehow still all there. But let's take a look at this $500 Craigslist special, shall we? So again, paint is all there, has a little scratch right there. Hood is popped because I was looking under the hood. I may have cheated a little bit. Let's go take a look at the interior, shall we? It is all right in here. It's not terrible. Everything is there. Nothing is missing. And how could it be? Look at the mileage on it. It's only got 94,863 miles. You can see it's got a nice dashboard cover. The windshield is completely cracked. I don't know if you can see that, but it is cracked in multiple spots, so that's going to need attention. Even the sun visors are quite nice. Surprisingly. It's missing the dome light cover. How nice. It's got junk everywhere in it. They left a bunch of stuff, I'm sure, in the glove box and everywhere else. It's got the original radio, surprisingly. That's something you don't see every day. It's got cruise control options. Door panels are quite nice. So it isn't that bad on the inside. This is kind of freaky looking. Looks like a little mini stick shift. Let's take a look in the rear. These seats are all right back here. It's a little bit dirty, but, you know, nothing serious for 500 bucks. Again, the tires are actually all right, surprisingly. It's got a little wing on it. Isn't that adorable? And of course, because it's from the early 2000s, they have to use that sport badge like they use on Dodge Dakotas and Ford products and basically everything else that they wanted to convince people were sporty back then. So let's go take a look at the other side because that's where the small little issues lie. It's got a little kringle right there because somebody bumped into, I'm assuming, a parking stall of some kind. Again, paint is all right on this side. Does have a little dent right there and a little bit of clear coat peel, which we will not be fixing because this car will sell in this market no matter what, basically. Again, it's the SE, so it's not too bad on this side. It's got the antenna on the back, strange place for an antenna. Let's go ahead and pop this door open and look at the interior on this side. It's fairly clean for what it is. They even gave me the original key fob and with all the trunk popping buttons and the original key, so that's nice. So overall, for 500 bucks, being the cheapest car on Craigslist, I think we got away smooth. Most of these, especially in this market, are going for a lot more. So I think I have a winner. We will see once I pull up the codes and determine exactly what's wrong with the vehicle, but for now, you've seen the exterior of the vehicle, you've seen the interior. Let's get on to a little bit of interior cleaning, and then we can go into the hood and determine what it really needs to be functional as a car once more. Now that we've done an exterior review and a mild interior review, let's get to the junk that they have left behind because they always leave junk behind. Let's check it out. We have some Armor All Protectant wipes. Ooh, I can always use those and they're nice and full. Some toilet paper. Doesn't everyone love that? I honestly don't want to know what this is. Who knows? Who cares, to be honest with you? Some change. Look at that. We've scored some money. There's some money back on our purchase. That's always good. It looks to be a bunch of quarters too and a marble. When I was a kid, I used to play with marbles with my dad, so I love marbles. Bunch of junk in the center console. It looks like this is for the lug nuts because it has locking lug nuts. A pair of scissors, some disgusting nasal spray, some military dog tags, and a couple AAAs. I can always use some AAAs and a highlighter. So look at all the booty me be finding. Let's check in the glove box. This would explain all of this. Smells very interesting in here, that's for sure. Look at that pristine windshield, boy. You like that windshield, don't you? I can actually feel the crack through the windshield. That's how serious this crack is. Probably have to get that fixed. So let's dig through here. We have 1.5 million of these little pine tree air fresheners. Oh, there's the owner's manual. That's good. There is some kind of knife, probably like a cheap Chinese knife blade thing. Here is a cat food. Hey, what's in here? Bunch of quarters or something. Oh, look, some stickers. Chuco cigars, hey man, Chuco town. That's what they call El Paso. Let's figure out what these quarters are. Them don't look like quarters. What the hell? That looks like Korean money. That's strange. Bunch of weird Korean currency. Well, they were in the military, so that makes sense, I guess. So now I have a bunch of Korean money, bunch of quarters, a USB charger. That appears to be just about everything. The center console over here is empty. There's an unusable cup holder. Isn't that nice? I just whacked my head on this frickin' oh shit handle. Anything under the seats? No, it's pretty clean under there. Honestly, this car is pretty clean all around. Remember, it only has 94,000 miles on it, so haven't checked the trunk, so maybe I should go check out the trunk right now. Make sure there's no friendly corpses hanging around in there.
Hey, mister, mind if I take this old van?
Sure. You want to dump the corpses out of theirs? It's yours.
Yeah, I've gotten used cars before.
So let's go check out the trunk. So in the trunk we have an unopened bottle of Blue Mountain 50/50 antifreeze, a new bottle of WD-40. I can always use that. Bottle of 5-way 20, unopened as well. A funnel, a filthy dirty rag. What I'm assuming are the original floor mats, which is nice. A jack and the handle for the jack. I'm sure the spare tire is under there. There's the kidnap thing. If you get kidnapped, you just yoink on this and it'll let you out. And some child seatbelt tether anchors. Wow, those are probably original to the car. This is amazing, actually, huh? So we got some treasures in here too. What do you know? It's not just complete junk for once. So we're gonna swap the original OEM floor mats out that I found in the trunk with these disgusting ones that they provided with the car. I just don't like these. I like the OEM mats, so let's put all this junk in the trunk and swap the mats out. Now that I verified all of the goodies inside of the trunk, I've decided to come in here and take stock of the change that was left over. We have $3.80 US, so that is $3.80 back into our pockets from the purchase price of the vehicle, which was 500 bucks. We have an unknown amount in Korean currency, which, you know, basically worthless. And we have a bunch of stuff left over in the center console, such as this nasal spray thing, which is probably up somebody's nose, so probably shouldn't even be touching that. Have a set of dog tags that I will call the guy and see if he wants them back. And the rest of this will come inside with me because I could definitely use a pair of new scissors. And now that everything has been verified in here, along with the contents of this, which I guess I'll keep these. I don't like any of the smells of these. What does True North even smell like, I ask you? Does anyone know? Fresh shave, perhaps, maybe some lather. Who knows what all that crap smells like, and I don't even care. So all that will remain in there. Now that we've verified everything inside the car, it is time to clean it up because it has a few little stains here and there. Not too bad. It's not horrible in here, but definitely needs a cleaning. We have the OBD2 scanner plugged in under the dashboard now, and we can take a look at some of the codes that it is displaying. It has 4 of them. We have a P0708 generic transmission range sensor, circuit high, so that's probably a good indication that the transmission range sensor has gone bad. That is a super common problem on these Ford Contours and Mystiques and Mondeos. It's probably one of the most common issues. Once this transmission range sensor fails, that determines the actual range of gears the transmission has, and it won't allow the car to shift into any gear besides first and second. So that's pretty common to see, and I'm actually excited to see that. It means nothing horrible is wrong with the transmission. P1744 torque converter clutch solenoid circuit performance. Again, that code usually sets when the other code sets because the transmission detects slippage, and will actually bring this code up as a result. P0442 evap system leak. That's pretty common. There's a hose under the hood that's disconnected that I believe is causing that. It's actually attached to the EGR. and P0401 exhaust gas recirculation flow insufficient, EGR. So that's probably the reason, because the EGR is disconnected along with a number of other things. So those are the 4 codes. We know what we're looking for now, and we can go up under the hood and see what's going on. Here we are under the hood, and there will be a couple of things you'll begin to notice as you look around underneath this mechanical monstrosity. First thing is a brand new battery, so somebody has gone to the trouble to replace the battery recently. And there's a couple things that I began to notice. First one being this disconnected hose that should be from here to here is just missing. This is probably the cause of our evap leak. And if you notice, this goes to this, which if you look under here goes all the way to the EGR, which is probably the source of the EGR code for this vehicle. The next thing you'll begin to notice is if you step over here to the power steering reservoir, you'll notice that it's not connected for one. And this is the line for the power steering that has been capped off. So somebody has unplugged it, because if you look down there, they've actually broken off the spigot where it once connected, so there is no more power steering, and that is the cause of the power steering failure. The other things that you're not going to be able to notice is underneath this battery, way down there, is the transmission range sensor. So we're going to have to get down there and see if we can possibly take it apart and get that range sensor replaced. I do have the replacement for that. I also have the replacement reservoir. So those are the main things we're going to get started on, and also that hose right there. So those are our 3 main little culprits that we need to take care of before we can even consider taking this thing on the road. It really couldn't have been much easier to get that battery out. You just disconnect this 10mm here, swing it around, disconnect the 2 10mm here, and then slide these tabs forward, because there's 2 little, I guess 3 on each side, little locking tabs, and 2 more there. And this whole thing just lifts up and out of the way. So I am gonna have to disconnect this from its little home down in there, and hopefully we'll be able to see the transmission range sensor. So of course, as is pretty typical with Fords, once you start getting into things, you have to remove just about everything. We did take the battery tray out and put it on the floor over there. I am gonna have to take this airbox intake out, because I found this on the end. It has been snapped off and it's broken. So there's no way this thing was passing an inspection legitimately. That's probably been off for 10+ years, and it's all the way back there somewhere. So we're gonna have to find out where that broke off. And of course, the transmission range sensor, you can see, is that sensor right there. I don't even know if you can see that, but it's located right there underneath what I'm assuming is the thermostat. So it's gonna be quite a little bastard to get to that. So everything is in its place, and it's very happy to be where it is, and it does not want to be disturbed at all. Here's one of these ugly filters. It's pretty ugly, so that'll probably have to be changed as well. So it's basically the genie's lamp. You know, we rubbed the lamp, the Pandora's box, we let the smoke out, and now we have to go down in here and take apart everything. But I can't say I didn't expect that, because I totally did. We've moved over to the power steering reservoir. You can see that is the new one in place. And this is the old one, which had the busted off nipple, which was causing power steering fluid to leak all the way down the side of the motor. So that was a pretty easy install. You just take a flathead screwdriver right here, you pry, and it pulls the whole thing forward. It's getting really windy though, so I think we're gonna have to maybe dub over some of the repairs over there, because it's starting to get intense. But we'll see what I can do for now because of this nasty wind noise. After about an hour or so of trying to fight this sensor, I did eventually get it out. This is the one that I removed. I believe these are called the lever range position sensor or transmission range sensor, something like that. There's so many different names for the stupid things. This is the one I removed. It is not a Ford OEM part. It is quite crusty, quite bad looking. It's basically deteriorating before my eyes. So there's no wonder that it failed. Here is the new, and by new I mean used, OEM Ford replacement sensor. You can see here there is a little mark, kind of like a timing mark almost, and this mark has to be lined up with this front piece here and this front piece here, because when you do this job, the vehicle has to be in drive. For some reason, that's just how the maintenance manual says you have to do it, so I followed the schedule, and this is what it says: line up the 2 marks. That way when you put it back in, the 2 tabs here will line up properly, and you can see down in there, those are the 2 little tabs. So we need to get that back on there. It was quite a struggle to get it out. Hopefully this one, the replacement $12 unit, works. Otherwise I will have to go buy a brand new one, and they seem to be scarce. But the pins line up. This one is literally awful, so I'm sure this was the culprit all along. I did have to take off a little bit more than I was hoping to take off, but that's the way it goes when you work on domestic vehicles. I also cleaned the throttle body, got a couple of new emissions hoses, and on top of that, I got a new PCV hose and cleaned the mass airflow sensor. So now that we've done a little bit of fiddling here and there and put in that power steering reservoir and fixed all the lines, we can hopefully put this transmission range sensor back in and put everything back on top. So let's go for it. Well, I put everything back together, started the old contour up, started pouring the power steering fluid in, and something tells me it didn't like the power steering fluid that much, because there's oatmeal all over the ground, or maybe mashed potatoes. I don't know. Something's going on up in here that, oh yeah, that we're gonna have to take a look at. Probably the line is cracked. So there went about $15 of power steering fluid. Oopsie daisy. Always got to keep an eye out for that kind of thing. You never know when it's gonna strike. So let's jack the car up and go underneath and see what kind of fiddly farting I have to do with the power steering hose. After a small amount of deliberation and a lot of loss of power steering fluid, I had to go underneath this car and determine where the hell that power steering fluid is leaking out of, because it's not leaking, it is pouring. Okay, when it rains, it pours, and it pours out of this Ford Contour. So I went up underneath here, and I'm gonna do my best while holding the camera to squeeze myself underneath here. Okay, all I'm gonna tell you is what I have found is probably criminally negligent. Okay, if I wasn't just buying this car as a guy who fixes cars and knows what he's doing, and I bought this car as a consumer, there would be legal recourse, because this is beyond any level of frightening that I've ever seen. You can see just in the time we've been here, it's pissed more power steering fluid out. The front motor mounts on this thing are beyond shot. Let me show you. Can you see that? I should not be able to do that, okay? So we are gonna have to replace the front and rear motor mounts. That's not the main thing of concern for me right now. This is what we're after, okay? Can you see what that is? This is a leaking hydraulic power steering line, okay? They leak, that's fine. Can you see this rub mark right here? Do you see that? I know it's really hard with the iPhone because it doesn't like to focus very well. Do you see this? This is the CV axle, okay? For those of you who don't know what that is, that's the constant velocity axle. It spins along with this axle and makes the wheel go round and round, okay? The wheels on the bus go round and round. The wheels on this bus and or Ford Contour are being slowed down because somebody has wrapped the power steering lines around the CV axle, and it's, see this? Every time the frickin' wheel spins, it's eating a hole. I can actually feel it up here with the top of my hand. It is eating a hole through the power steering line, ready to cause a fire and kill the driver of this automobile. I cannot even believe this. I have never seen this before in my life. This is definite criminal negligence on the part of whoever fixed this. I will be calling the previous owner and asking him, hey, did you have any say in what happened to that power steering system? Did you fix that? Because if he did, he should never be allowed to work on vehicles again. This is frightening. This is beyond frightening, okay? I'm speechless. Let that sink in. So I'm going to do my best to repair this line. We're going to probably cut it and put a new line in, or maybe just get the whole line replaced altogether. I don't know. And then we have to do the motor mounts, because this thing is... You can see the splash from this power steering is just going all over the underside of the motor. But this is ridiculous. I am flabbergasted. Fucking flabbergasted. Are you comfortable, mister? Get out of there. Go on. Get your butt out of my car. Thank you, Speedy. What a frickin' nuisance. This is what I get for leaving the window down. All you little cuties coming in here and resting your little buttholes in here. Come on, bud, get out of here. Let's go. Come on. Come on. Come on, it's moving day. Let's go. Come on, guys. Come on, get out. Thank you. God, you guys are buttholes. So we took the ancient beast to Walmart to get some transmission fluid, because once I changed that fluid range sensor and put 1.5 quarts of Mercon in the transmission, she went back to shifting like she should be shifting and not trying to rattle my fillings out. So it starts up no problem at all. No lights on of any kind, you can see. The airbag light goes out in a second, and so does that. See, no lights at all, except my seatbelt. It does kind of bang into reverse. You see here. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's because the motor mounts are horrifyingly bad in the front and the back, so we're gonna have to change those. But it is shifting normally, and I'll show you that in a second. So let's see, I'm gonna exit Walmart now. Look at that, it shifted like it was supposed to. 3rd and 4th gear, very nice. So the shifting issue has been solved. Now we just gotta solve those motor mounts, because those motor mounts are horrifically bad. I mean, horrifically bad. Stop's pretty good too. So let's go online and see how much a pair of front and rear motor mounts cost, because those desperately need to be changed. Well, as you saw, hopefully in the last part of the video, after I put everything back together, the car shifted beautifully. The only issue was a horrifying clunk into reverse and into neutral. After that, it was fine. So unfortunately, the motor mounts in this vehicle are hidden in a spot down there where they have to come out from the top, and that is on both sides. I don't know who did this, but it's Ford, so again, I'm not really surprised. The other one's back there. Here's the motor mounts in question. As you can see, there is no motor mount. It's gone. It's just gone. So luckily we have a replacement insert for this motor mount, and we are going to try to attach this back together and put it in. This was quite a task to get this out, and this thing is beyond shot. I mean, I don't even think I've ever seen one this bad before. And this is the mount that attaches over the mount. It's like a dual mount, and you have to take both of them off to get anything out, and you have to take the battery tray out, and you have to take the battery out, and you have to come up underneath and remove like a bar. It's a big pain in the butt. So let's try to put this all back together and see if our shifting problem goes away. There's the new motor mount insert installed. You have to flip these two tabs over once you slide it into the two brackets, and then that attaches like this to this bracket. That attaches to the actual motor, the engine block, and this attaches to the lower frame, if you want to call it. It's a unibody car, but it's like a little frame rail, okay? This is all just completely brittle to the point of falling off the bone, just like some nice slow roasted meat. So that's dead. This is the new one. Hopefully it'll last a while. I don't have much faith because it seems kind of squishy, but I also have another one for the rear motor mount, and it goes in just the same way. So at least they're easily serviceable. It's the one thing Ford could have possibly have done right. I did manage to get both motor mounts replaced, both the front and the rear one, which I kind of struggle to call them motor mounts. I think all of the mounts on this vehicle are transmission mounts. And specifically, I think these two are transmission mounts, and I think these two are motor mounts. But if you remember before, I could grab the motor and shake it back and forth. If you look now, can't shake it at all. So that's good. I've also been working on polishing the headlights. So there's one that we've got completely cleaned. And here's the old one. So you can see for reference, clean versus not clean. You can definitely tell it on the sides more than anything else. After we get the headlights nice and polished, I'm gonna take it for a wash, maybe clean up the tires, vacuum the interior, and we'll see how she drives, because so far it's been shifting fine. I'm hoping this cures the clunk into reverse and neutral. After that, I don't think there's really too much more we have to do to the vehicle, besides maybe a little bit of cosmetic work, and I don't really plan on doing that. So I will catch you guys in a couple minutes. Now what I'm going to do is start the contour up. Starts right up without any problems. Really, I mean, it runs fantastic. And you're going to see that the transmission mount that I replaced no longer allows the vehicle to bang horrendously into gear. Ready? See? Normally into gear. You see here? Before it would go bang and the whole thing would shake the fillings out of my teeth. So the car's been mostly cleaned up for what it is. I don't think we're gonna go any further with it than this. The rear seats I even cleaned up. Remember how there were stains on there? Yep, I even cleaned up the stains. Amazing, right? Never did find a dome light cover, but I don't think they're gonna care. I will put a new bulb in there for them, however. But it's really nice and clean in here. Just a really nice car. No real problems at all. Super low miles. I mean, it's just a nice little car. And yes, it does need a windshield. I'm gonna call the windshield company, not Safe Light. I'm gonna call a local windshield company right now and see if maybe we can strike up a deal, because If I can get it for about $200 or so, I will replace the windshield. I just don't want to if I don't have to. But nobody's gonna buy it looking like this with a bunch of glass crack swastikas in it. So we're gonna go ahead and call the windshield company and see what we can do about that. But other than that, she's clean. So one last little thing before we put the car all back together. I have put it back together about 3 times now, but we have 2 more little situations that have popped up. The EGR code has returned, and on a contour, a V6 contour anyway, that is very commonly this. These are called intake runners, and they clog up with carbon. They actually go here to the EGR valve. This is what recirculates the exhaust gas, and I'll show you what I mean by that. See, this is a zip tie, right? If I stick this zip tie in here, you're gonna see it pop out here. Watch this. See that? Previous to me cleaning it out right now with a screwdriver and a bunch of other stuff, this was 100% clogged with carbon, so there was no way that the actual exhaust gas was ever even getting to the EGR valve to be burned. A lot of people replace the DPFE, which is down there. A lot of people also call this valve the culprit, but 9 times out of 10, it is this little runner that becomes clogged with carbon and soot. For some reason, these are notoriously bad for that. The other thing that happened is at idle, this vehicle will display an oil light. The oil light will flicker, but once you step on the gas, it goes away. That is typically a result of the oil pressure sensor, which is hidden down here somewhere. So now that we've solved that little issue with the EGR, we're gonna have to come down here and try our best to find the oil pressure sensor, which on this vehicle is quite hidden. So I think I can see it right there. It's not that easy to see, but we'll see what we can do with that. I think it's right there. Lots of stuff. Every time I take apart a Ford, it's always something new. So now that everything is kind of fixed, let's see what kind of get up and go she had, shall we? Woo, baby. Not bad. Dang. This thing will take off on you. That is not bad at all. There's always somebody running a red light right in front of me. It's so random that it always happens when I'm filming, like every damn time. Anyway, this thing fucking flew. So definitely we have all the gears back the way they should be. And as you can see, I'm driving it around, and it's acting completely normal. It is quite loud. It doesn't have an exhaust leak or anything. It just grumbles quite a bit. Not exactly sure why. I guess because it's the 2.5 liter V6. But she does drive absolutely perfect, so I have no complaints thus far. So here we are at the end of the video. You saw me purchase the car from its arguable grave, buy parts for the car, fix the car, and drive it around, proving that just with a little bit of tender love and care and a little bit of patience, the car could be put back on the road for very little amount of money and put back to proper working condition, because the previous owner had basically abused it to near death. I do have the cost versus profit analysis right here in my hand, and we will go over it in a second. For those of you who are my viewers, I would just like to say thank you again. I did get a new job, so I'm working 50 hours plus a week as a car technician. So any videos you see of me fixing cars from this point forward, I'm doing on top of working a completely full-time, probably above full-time job at this point. So I'm not going to be as happy and go lucky and making too many jokes. They're going to be more to the point and, you know, just showing exactly what's going on with the cars that I do purchase. So let's get into this real quick. The Contour was $500 because it had various issues shifting in the transmission and power steering and stalling, etc., etc. $12 for an OEM Ford transmission range sensor. It was a used unit, but it did work just fine and solved the problem. $14 for an OEM power steering reservoir because for some reason the previous owner fiddled with it and snapped off one of the hoses and it caused all the fluid to leak out. Who knows why he did that? Who knows why he did anything to that car, to be perfectly honest. $23 for fluid. This includes 3 quarts of power steering fluid and 1 quart of Mercon transmission fluid because all the power steering fluid leaked out. $13 for a PCV hose because it had a large evap leak, which was caused by a completely missing PCV hose. And the EGR needed cleaned, which was free because I had the cleaning stuff on hand. The pipe between the throttle body and the EGR was completely clogged, causing the car to stall when it warmed up. But again, that was free. That brings the total to $562 to get this car back on the road, running and driving and shifting properly. That's a pretty good deal for a car with 94,000 miles. Full disclaimer, I've already sold the car. It's over to my right here, which would be your left, I guess. I don't know. But I already sold it. It was $1,500 is what I got for it. I asked $1,700, but if you remember, the windshield was shattered. Not shattered, but it was cracked in multiple spots. And I reasoned that I could spend $200 fixing the windshield and ask $1,700 for it, or I could take $200 off the asking price and have the the new owner put the windshield in if they so chose, and that's what we ended up doing. An Uber Eats driver purchased the car so he could deliver food. Who buys a V6 car to do delivery in? I don't know, but he seemed to like the car. 30 minutes after I posted it, it was gone. So I do still have the vehicle because he's going to come pick it up on Friday, but it was here, and then I sold it. Super easy. Great car. I wish they could all kind of be like that. Wasn't that easy to fix. There were many, many times I had to take the car apart, but for the most part, it was a pretty easy fix. Now that we've discussed most of what's going on with the Ford Contour, if you're not my subscriber and you don't care about the rest of what I'm going to say, you can just go ahead and click off. So, like I said in my last video, I've been going through a little bit of stuff. I did manage to get a new job. It is quite a job. They are paying good, but I have to work 50 hours plus a week, 6 days a week. It is quite a demanding job. I'm doing exactly what I'm doing now, fixing cars for a car dealership here in town. It's a franchise, so they come in and they're newer cars. They're usually between, 2010 and 2022. It's not the older cars that you guys are used to seeing on this channel. I'm hoping at some point we can branch off with these videos, not unlike Rain Man Ray, and show you inside the actual dealership where I work and show you all the cars that I'm functioning on. I'm trying to get some kind of permission to go ahead and do that. The guy that owns the place is super nice, and we may be able to go ahead and do something like that. But for now, in my spare time, I'm going to continue to buy cars and fix them, as you've seen so far. This has been the first car I've been able to fix in a month just because of time constraints. If I work 50 plus hours a week, buying a car and then fixing it and then selling it is quite difficult in between that. I just don't have the time to deal with people on Craigslist that go, hello? Hello, are you selling the Ford? Yes, does it run and drive? Is it blue? Is it a car? Does it have 4 wheels? You have no idea the amount of just absolute nonsense I deal with trying to sell these actual cars. It was easier when I had the dealership. Now that I'm trying to sell some of them on Craigslist, those people are out of their mind. I don't even know. You get people offering like $200 for the car. People show up fucking tweaking out on drugs and shit, being all shady. The whole experience is just not fun. So from now on, when we buy the cars, I will buy them. I will fix them. And if I'm going to sell them, I'm going to have a third party do it. Maybe I'll put them to auction. Maybe I will work with the dealership that I work with to put them out on the back lot or something. We'll see how it goes. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. It was a little bit taxing for me because I'm running around like a chicken without a head trying to get everything situated, including my housing situation. So hopefully more videos will be coming soon. But I appreciate you guys watching as always. Thank you. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.